The first semester of Greek can seem pretty long, so to help out my friends, yeah, I made a song. So before our finals passed out by our professor, here's a quick review of our first semester. Kicking things off, yeah, ready, set. Starting off with the basics, the alphabet. Probably seems simple, everybody knows, but in case you need it, here it goes. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, keep, c, omega. Hope that was a breeze and you got none wrong, cause you know what we got next hour. Dipthongs. We got oi, a, and even a hui. Endings with iotas as you can see. Next we got ooh, ow, ew, and a hue. Upsilon endings, yeah, we have a few. Next we got our breathing marks, soft and rough. If it looks like this, put an H in front of your stuff. But if it's smooth, you add nothing, good sir. But enough about these building blocks, let's get to verbs. Present, active, indicative, what I'm doing now and here. Let's talk about the endings loud and clear. Ooh, ace, a, and eteusin. I said, oh, ace, a, and eteusin. For our first infinitive, well, it ain't no thing. To say to something, you just add ain. Let's get to those noun forms that you might face, but first we got to see the meanings of each case. If the noun is the nominative case at all, it'll be the subject like you're throwing a ball. And if it's genitive, it can mean that it takes ownership like an apostrophe. And if it's dative, then it can be said that the action's to something, like throwing to a head. Accusative is the direct object, y'all. That's like what you're throwing, like a dart or the ball. Now we got to know what the cases mean. Now we can get through how they're formed, and it can be seen. For the first declension nouns, feminative, they can add the eta or alpha for their ending. And for the singular, here's what you gotta do. Nothing, sigma, iota, subscript, nu. And for the plural, you can say it with sass. It's I, own, ice, ass. For the masculine nouns, hope you're singing along. The endings are os, oo, own, and on. Plurals like the fem, but a little loose. It's oi, then own, then ois, and oos. Neuter is on, oo, o, and on, then a, own, oos, and then another ah. For the vocative case, it's the same as before, but use it for commands like go sing some more. But before we move on, I should probably mention there are some gendered nouns that don't match declensions, so to know their gender and to stay real smarticle, keep an eye on your definite articles. The definite articles all mean the, and they all kinda match their declensions. They have a rough breathing mark right on top, and there's a tau in front when that does stop. Let's talk about adjectives you can bet. Attributive, substantive, predicate, a substantive. Adjectives, easy and fun. It's just the adjective like the faithful one. If the definite article before the adjective, like a faithful heart, it's attributive. Last, a predicate syntax, it ain't no bull. The at the beginning makes the heart is faithful. Prepositions are our next section, like, about, around, towards, too many to mention. Usually they're paired with a special noun case, so learn those vocabs words as a base. For a lot of our sentences, you can see we'll need to learn the forms of the verb to be. A, me, A-S-C. Yes, that's the verb to be. I sing these rhymes for the paradigms, S-man, S-A-S-C. Now keep going, don't wear a frown, cause next we're singing about our pronouns. Let's start with I, ego mu moi me, ms a mon, am meaning ames. Let's move on to you, su so soy say, umes, umon, umin, umas. Third person pronouns are important to add ought to declensions through and through. That's he, she, it, they. What's really cool is autos can have some special uses. Put a definite article in front of the noun. It means itself. Next it can be found that if you add a the to the autos this time, it means the same. You will find very similar to the words like that in these: hutos, akanos, those you shouldn't miss. For hutos, it follows, declensions, wow. And when you don't use breathing marks, you use tau. Ekanos is our form of that, follows declension straight up. Nothing odd about that. Next, let's talk about passive voice. It might seem strange that the subject and the object are rearranged. The subject is acted upon, it is shown. Instead of I threw the ball got thrown. It can also mean the middle, like for myself, alright, with endings oh my, te, meste, este, hontai. If words in the present tense have middle components, that's a very special verb that's called a deponent. Irko, my, gino, my examples of these: I go, I become, this'll be a breeze. Use upo for by if it's a person, or dative if something impersonal is working. Moving on to imperfect tense. Now hear what I'm saying. It's a past with no end, like I was praying. There's an epsilon augment in front of the verb. It stretches omicrons to omegas and epsilons to etas. Word. Endings on, es, a, omen, ete, on. And now we're singing the second tense of our song. Remember the verb aiming to be and all. Let's sing the imperfect of that. Let me hear you call. Amen, es, a, amen, et, en. Now you know I was, you were. Let's move on. Imperfect middle passive's what we got next. Like I was being loose and it'll be on the test. It's got an epsilon augment like before, but learning these endings might be a chore. Amen, eto, beste, esse, onto. Now y'all have it perfect. Don't forget deponents though. Next we've got the future tense, like I will lose. Add a sigma to the present endings, easy to do. So say, som, and sete, su, husin, super, simple, sigma. That's how you do it. Next, the future middle, but not the passive. Sigma before connecting vowels. These words might be massive. Soma, se, setai, samtha, seste, sontai. These sigmas make letters change. That's how we get a key from Kai. Of course, we got that M-A, S-O-M-I, S-T, S-T-I. Esometha, este, and esontai. For completed actions in the past, aorist can't go wrong. Ending sa, sa, say, Simon, sa, te, son. And like all past endings, don't you forget, it's never complete without the epsilon augment. Except the aorist infinitives, yes, that was a lie, because with that you just add the ending of sigh. I lied to you again, yeah, I reckon, cause that was the first aorist. Here's the second. On, sa, and ete on, and the cases for these verbs, well, they just seem wrong. The endings for the middle are man, o, et, tomeste, este, and onto. The perfect tense is now I have blanked. Let's learn them together. You'll do great. You got kai, you got kas, you got kuc, then kam and kate, and lastly kasi. Now it's not just the epsilon, hope you're seated, but the augment for the first letter's also repeated. The perfect's more or less what you'd expect, except psi for the second singular, old school respect. Now for infinitive, the repetition and all still there, but the endings in est I like to have carried or bear. Now if a vowel starts the verb, kinda acts as an epsilon, don't be perturbed, and if it starts with an aspirated consonant, the augment comes in and unaspirates them. If the double consonant is what you got, just turns into an epsilon, doesn't happen a lot. Remember the aorist and future passes weren't in our song, well, here they were. Back here, all along. Use the eta and theta, then these parts with these, basically the endings for the imperfect. Future passive is much of the same, theta, eta for our my eta endings. Next we have another declension, that makes 3. To know it, you just have to sing, oh Christmas tree. Arconanta, sontionta, ante sonton, usiontas. Next there are ma endings for our neuter nouns, so sing these with me. Come on, make a sound. Ma matos mati, mamata maton, masi, and lastly, mata. Let's talk about participles you can't miss, because these are our verbal adjectives. They can be like adjectives, like the believing one, or they can describe what was going on, like what was happening. Remember that Christmas tree song from before? You can use the same song for participle forms. Similar with the neuter, except for nominative and act. Feminine is ooze, verse declension, that's that. Use these endings for this version of a me. All those forms are defined as being. For the middle past participles, just add men, then follow the rules for the first 2 declensions. For the aorist participles, add a sigma there. Similar sitch, don't give up, don't be a square. For the second aorist participle, same as present, add the second aorist root segments. If at the beginning a genitive's what you see, it's dependent of the rest of the sentence grammatically. Last chapter, let's finish this off with a bang. Let's talk about our aorist participle passives. Come on, last chapter. With an epsilon, very similar endings with a perfect out of repetition chi, then you'll be trending. Now instead of a chi for passive or middle, you'll replace it with men, and you can bet that it'll act as a periphrastic participle. If Amy's paired in there, now you just got a little more content to cover. Come on and glean what all the adverbial participles could mean. They could mean the time, like when you were saying the things, like manner, like with what authority you preach the means, like how you were doing what you're doing, because, if you know what I mean. Condition, if this, then how will it be? Concession, like although, even though, albeit. Well, that's what we got. One whole semester of Greek. I hope for the final, this is what you seek. Yes, this song was long, unnecessary, complicated, but learn this and the vocab, and hey, you just might make it.